proves that people have been listening to me, because for the last 20 or 30 years I've been telling people, you got to go out and get those old buggers and interview them before they die. And, suddenly I turn 72 and I get this phone call, Ernie, we want to interview you with everything I'm feeling. And
So we have been listening.
at least they heard one thing that I said. But I think ours is a model. In all of these relationships, they've got to be two-way. I mean, this is the nature of mentoring. And it's not that different, totally different. It surely is different from a therapeutic counseling relationship, directing relationship, because there's one person who's presumed to have greater experience, and knowledge, but it has to be two-way. It's impossible to teach without learning. And I think that I think there are some people who don't know this, who set themselves up as mentors who don't know this. And sometimes they have a lot to teach, but they don't get it across because they're not learners while they're teachers. And I think we have. One thing I've really relished in this experience with you, I mean, some people let me get away with that when I try it on them. You never have. Our relationship has been very two-way, and I think that that's the kind of relationship that has to be looked for. The relationship always where there's something is given both ways it comes first. The other danger I think that comes up is the tendency of that old bugaboo of selfishness. Okay, well, this is my student. Mm-hmm. And therefore, no, you'd better not talk to so-and-so because they think differently than I do. No, there's one of the tasks, I think, in bringing forth others is linking them. I spoke early at the beginning of after publishing Not God, I became sort of a nodal center where people would contact me and ask, well, most of the time, I couldn't answer their questions for one thing, but even if I could, there were others who were better prepared, and so I'd link them. Mm-hmm. And there can't be a possessiveness. I mean, those who come to learn from us are, in a way, a precious gift, and so we have to realize that they're a gift freely and pass that gift on to others. So I think an important role is this linking to resources, knowing the resources and linking people to them. It's
I think in our relationship,
you've passed on not only a great deal of information, but a whole network of relationships that also then nourish me in all kinds of different specialty areas. So that's been invaluable.
Yeah, I mean, some of the great things that some of the people I've introduced you to, I think, are among the highlights of my life. But you go on and then you do the same thing to me this is one example, in fact. So I think that's so important, the sense of creating this network and linking and not being selfish or possessive, which I see edges of this at times, and it really troubles me that you shouldn't go to that summer school or that whatever, as if they might be contaminated. Well, no. I mean, this is open. And I think the other thing that immediately comes to mind, and I think, we've captured today, if you can't be enthusiastic about this, don't do it. I mean, if this doesn't turn you on, go do something else. I mean, I don't know, maybe this is my drug, maybe, and I don't want a 12-step program to help me surpass it, but I'm sure that we get in a conversation like this, and you give me the opportunity to teach, I'm sure that the serotonin or norepinephrine or whatever it is, and if they had one of those MRIs in my head, they see all these flashing lights and all this. This turns me on. And I think there has to be that aspect. I think the good teacher is a performer. The good teacher is an enthusiast. Not all the time, and within a measured, recognizing what's going on, but I think the enthusiasm, genuine enthusiasm, is simply, you cannot teach something you don't love. Mm-hmm. And you take a subject like Republican politics in the post-Civil War era, which is pretty bad, and how do you get enthusiastic about Ulysses S. Grant and Rutherford B. Hayes? Well, these were interesting times, and you get into it enough until you can transmit that these are interesting times. Your students might not become fans of Rutherford B. Hayes, but you didn't bore them especially. You got a few. They might call anecdotal history, but you've got to be enthusiastic. And connected with that, I think, is that we've come almost full circle now. There has to be a fundamental honesty. The first honesty for any teacher, of course, is I don't know. Mm-hmm. That is so difficult for some people, and people like that should never go into teaching. I sometimes think people like that go into teaching so they think that someday they'll know everything. Maybe even I might have started that way, but someplace along the line, you recognize, I don't know. And honesty about what one does know. Sometimes there's proprietary information. We have to keep confidences, obviously, and there's certain types of information that should be kept confidential. But there has to be a basic honesty. I think honesty, I said before, is letting significant others know us as we really are. And I think this particular side of us, especially, that gets involved in this, you have to be honest with it, honest about it. There can't be duplicity. I think dishonesty is dishonesty is a trap. And this is one reason I go back again. AA emphasizes honesty so much, the first page of how it works. Honesty is important, and maybe I can't analyze all the reasons why, I'm not even sure, but just my experience attests that honesty is, again, I think our relationship and our mutual friends and the things that we have, if you pardon the word, shared. I've avoided that, I think, all the time. That we have mutually enjoyed. This is it. I forget. Was it C.S. Lewis? I think said, lovers sit side by side, enjoying the same beauty. Friends sit lovers sit face to face, immersed in each other. Friends sit side by side, immersed in the same beauty. And I think that's, the friendship is a relationship of sitting side by side. And it differs from more intimate relationships, which are face-to-face relationships. And this may be something to go back to your initial question. Counseling may involve both. I mentioned starting graduate school in psychology. A hotshot book, one of my years at the University of Rochester, was William Schofield's Psychotherapy, The Purchase of Friendship. Made a profound, just the title made a profound impact on me. I'm not sure I remember the rest of the book. But I think at times that's accurate. And I think maybe at times it's appropriate for the therapist to be a friend, which is different than being a soulmate. And this, again, is for people of professional competence to weigh and balance. It goes beyond I can sort of point to this and say this is an interesting area to think about, but people who know the boundaries of professional relationship are much better equipped to carry this forward.
One thing, when I reflect over what's been, I almost lost track of the years, but I know it's been more than 10 years ago. Early in our mentorship, there was a sense of indebtedness that I developed in terms of how much I felt that I got from you at that point. And almost out of that sort of embarrassment of those riches, I said, is there some way I can pay you? And I was really talking about, I felt should I pay you monetarily for this? And I'll never forget your response. You said, yes, you can pay me. You said, because in years to come, you're going to have a young kid show up, and you aren't going to have time to meet with them. They're going to be green. They're going to ask some very stupid questions at times. And when that occurs, say, yes, I have time for you. And you really conveyed this notion of what I'm asking you to do is when you have opportunities in the future to do that, pass it on. And I'll never forget that.
Yeah, pass it on. That's the title of the book. When AA started writing its own history of Bill Wilson especially, the book was entitled Pass It On. And I think that's the great responsibility of all those who've been given gifts. Pass it on. I came at this surely through my experience within AA, but striking to me. I had a rather tumultuous experience in graduate school, and I felt some of my graduate school mentors wished that I'd never got. And after it was all over and I got my degree, in fact, I think I was teaching in Georgia already, I went back to Harvard and I looked up Oscar Handlin and I said, you have been so important, so significant. And Oscar's a man of few words. I was his teaching fellow for 3 years. I think he spelled 3 sentences to me. And I said, I don't know how to thank you, but I just really want to thank you. And he just looked at me and said, be a good teacher, be a good researcher. And this is pass it on.
Right.
You've been given a gift, pass it on. And I think this is the first responsibility of whenever we're conscious of being given something, we look to pass it on. You know, we're not giving it for, oh boy, it's mine.
Right.
This is again I'm just struck that the classic 7 capital sins in the modern world have become virtues. You know, envy and greed make our economy run. Lust, I mean, we've got all these chemicals now for people who can't. Now you can. I mean, it's the whole. Just stop and think. And classically, the people who are happy are those who are practicing the virtues, not the vices. And to recognize the gifts that we have been given, pass them on. I guess I've come off the topic and circled back because this is so rich.
Yeah.
So rich.
You know, I've had, because I've acknowledged you in a lot of my presentations and publications, people have come up and said, oh, I've read, so much that Ernie's written. I would love to have just an afternoon sometime to just sit and listen to him talk about his work and his life. And I hope with this tape we've given a lot of people opportunities to do that who wouldn't have otherwise. So, and this is also a wonderful time for me to just thank you for the friendship and mentorship over the years.
Thank you back. I wouldn't be here today except for you. So you set this up.
Great.
Thank you, Bill.
Uh-huh.